Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you've been watching Ladies Cafe. Today's topic is fatherhood and mental health. If you want to interact with us, please follow us on our Facebook page, Ladies Cafe. Let's get to interact. We want to hear your views about this beautiful topic that we have today. And I've been joined by my two guests, Peter and Kennedy. I'll allow them to introduce themselves because ningapange mistake pronunciation of names. Peter and Kennedy, welcome to Ladies Cafe. It's good to have you on our show.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Kindly tell us more about yourselves.
Okay, maybe I can take the first step. So, my name is Kennedy Mutale. We run an organization called Decisive Minds. So the organization basically is a mental health organization, and we are so biased in issues related to drugs and alcohol. Because I think we have a lot of problems in that area. But generally, we are into mental health. We are based somewhere in Chalala, just after the Ring Road. That's where our offices are. I'm the executive director there. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what I can say now.
Great. Hi ladies.
Hi.
Looking great, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to be here once again. So my name is Peter Mukuka. I am the founder and chief executive officer at Men of Honor. So Men of Honor is basically a non-profit organization, which is youth-led, and we are primarily focused on empowering adolescent boys and young men to be agents of positive change in our communities. We've been in existence since 2021. Since 2021.
Okay.
And we've been working around providing mentorship support to the boys and the young men, coaching, and also linking them to appropriate services so that they can be groomed to become responsible members of the community to respond to some of the challenges that we are facing. And so that's about me. Our organization is located in PHI, Justomwale Road, and that's where we carry out our activities from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So, to begin with, kindly explain to us the connection between fatherhood and mental health.
Right. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to talk about what fatherhood is all about. Sometimes I feel like we know certain words, but we don't really understand what they're all about. For me, I like to look at fatherhood as like 3 R's. The first one is the roles. The second R is for the responsibilities, and then the third R is for the relationship. So basically, fatherhood is about the roles that fathers have in a family and for their children, the responsibilities and the relationships that they have with their families. And so when you talk about mental health and fatherhood, I think there's a very strong connection there because with fatherhood, of course, comes a lot of responsibilities, comes with additional roles that a man has to play in the family. And so sometimes that can even take a toll on the men and bring about some of the mental health issues. But then again, excuse me, sometimes it's difficult for the men, for us men, like myself. I'm a dad, I'm a father to 2 beautiful girls. Sometimes there are certain things that we don't even know about. We don't understand the issues to do with mental health. So even when you are going through some mental health issues, you may not even be aware, you may not know. And that's exactly what Decisive Minds are, I think, working around to bring about awareness so that we provide information to the men so they're able to understand, first of all, what mental health looks like, so that when they are going through those challenges, they may be able to identify some of those symptoms, some of those signs that they may be going through some of those issues. I think for me, from experience as a father, I think one of the things that I did not know was the fact that even men go through postpartum trauma. And I did not know about that, my first child, until the second child. So I began to realize that some of these things we need actually to raise awareness and provide information to the men. And so I see that there's a lot of connection there. There's a strong connection between fatherhood and mental health. Aside from that, again, I think there are many other aspects that may bring these challenges to the men as fathers. And that is about raising children. I think most of us as men, we do not go to school. We are not prepared for fatherhood. We are not prepared to raise children. And so you come across some of the challenges that you do not even know how to deal with as a father, and that takes a toll on you. And you may just find yourself exerting anger and being irritable and all those things. Yeah.
No.
Well explained. I think I've named and I've picked something there. You know, you've mentioned a part of a trauma. On that one, is it also part of a challenge that every father goes through? And is there a sign that normally tells to say this is what his father is going through?
Right. Well, I'll say something, then I'll allow Mr. Mutale as well to share his part. Yeah, of course, not all men go through postpartum trauma. But then there's a maybe 1 in every 10 from a research that was carried out, like 1 in every 10 men go through that. And oftentimes they don't even know that they're going through that. One of the signs that you would see is because when you have a new baby in the home, you used to enjoy your sleep with your spouse, but then now you have this new person, maybe the baby is like crying all the night, and you used to sleep 7 to 8 hours. Now you find yourself sleeping 4 hours or less, and then early in the morning you have to go for work. So you come back home, you're tired. So at the end of the day, some men may become irritable. Small thing, you find yourself being upset, you are shouting and things like that. Yeah, so that's one of the signs and one of the challenges that men may face once they have their child. Secondly, I think it's the cost that comes with children. So like I said, you're just yourself and your spouse, and you are managing within your pay or your income. Now you find yourself having to buy diapers, clothes, and babies. May need healthcare services and all that, so it becomes costly. So all that can trigger that aspect in the men.
Yeah, very interesting topic. Yeah, maybe just to add on. Yeah, I think like he has rightly put it, this postpartum trauma mostly happens because most of the men are not ready, when they are having their first children. And in most cases, you will discover that when we become fathers, there is a line between fatherhood and parenthood. So in most cases, the first time that we are becoming fathers, we don't know what is happening. Fathering is just having a child, but nurturing them becomes difficult, especially like he mentioned that you'd find that most of the people that are becoming fathers, they are less trained. We are different from you women or ladies, because for ladies, they will go through a certain process before they get married. But for men, in most cases, they are just short, trainings that they are provided. Now, we are talking about a lifelong, investment in, two people and maybe the children, as well. So you'd find that sometimes men might not even be ready to have children at that particular time, but just having children in itself, it's an exciting thing, but there are a lot of responsibilities that are required. And in these responsibilities and roles, this is where now sometimes issues of mental health will come in. So it will depend, on how much, you have been trained or how much ready you were before you got married, for you to manage, the mental health that will come with that. So in most cases, most of the men, from what I've seen, I think we're just sharing with him that there is an article that has just come out that just last year, about 21,000 couples, they are divorcing. So that is a very serious figure. It's a very serious statistic. It's just in Lusaka, not even in Zambia. So when you look at that, you would see already that one of the major challenge that is coming out of that, it's the mental health related challenges. And the reason being that most of the times you find that people do not want even to seek some help, even when they know that there's a problem. There's a lot of denial, within a lot of men. And traditionally, we've been trained to say men are naturally strong. Whenever they have a problem, men cannot, cannot cry, they cannot seek help, and all those things. And people think that this thing will just pass. It doesn't pass. Maybe I'll talk about what we call, for example, the way the mind works. We have 3 basic levels of the mind. We have, the conscious, we have the unconscious, and the subconscious. So the largest memory is the unconscious. So in most cases, whenever we are faced with challenges, especially things like traumas that you spoke about, things that we don't want, to hear about, things that we don't want to repeat themselves, they go into the unconscious. Now, in most cases, these are things that will come at a time that you least expect. And this is where you find a lot of mistakes even in homes. You find maybe a wife saying, I didn't know this guy was like this, because of certain behaviors that one did not expect. And sometimes even the man himself who is coming out with that behavior, they don't know how it even came out, because they have a lot of things that they have kept, they have suppressed for a long period of time. So really, it's a very big challenge for men. And like for us, who are always having interactions with these men, we are always encouraging people to be open, talk about these issues. And apart from what you mentioned about some of the effects, one of the effects of that is, this is why you have seen that a lot of young fathers are engaging themselves in substance use. They are drinking a lot of alcohol, others smoking marijuana, as well as maybe nicotine, even going to the extent of having some hard drugs like heroin and cocaine. So it is because of failing to cope, with whatever they are going through in the home. He spoke about the 3 R's, which are very very important. And sometimes you find that people are, those that are not responsible, it's very difficult for them to cope with life in a normal way. And this is why we are seeing that there are a lot of problems. So in a nutshell, I think we generally have a lot of problems, so which requires a lot of management from ourselves. But also when we think that this is overstressing, it is always important to seek some help. It might be from a friend, it might be from a professional, it might be from the church, and all these people. There are a lot of people that we can get help from, because what it is, the way the mind works is, the mind is connected to the emotion. So if, for example, the mind is disturbed, the emotion automatically gets disturbed, and the behavior will also be disturbed. So there is that, kind of triangle. So you would find that if the mind is negative, the emotions will also be negative. Then also the behavior becomes negative. And this is why you see that when a man is very stressed and is failing to manage the stress, when they go home, for example, here, if you are working here, your boss may disturb you with something. Then when you go home, you have no power maybe to attack your boss. So what happens is, when you because it's either in the bus you fight someone. If it's not in the bus, by the time that you reach home, you will have challenges with maybe your spouse or the children. So you go for the weaker person. So because of most cases, people don't understand the mind. So it all starts from the mind. When an event occurs, whether good or bad, it starts from the mind. The way we process that thing, it will affect the feelings, and later on affect our behavior. So that is basically how it is. So people that are strong, those that have strong minds, it is very easy for them, just to forget about it, brush it aside, and then they move on. So that's how basically it happens. That's why we have a lot of problems nowadays.
Okay. Just Galine, sorry, you wanted to mention something.
No, not really. I after listening to them, I feel Father's Day should be highly celebrated.
Of course,
just like we so much celebrate the woman or the mother in the house more than the father, without knowing what our fathers go through. Yeah,
because just to second your point of view, Belin, I think looking at it fathers do sacrifice a lot of things.
Yes.
Sometimes we women don't even understand that. You would find a situation where a father would not open up what they're going through. They find it very difficult. Even when they're stressed, you won't even tell. They just keep it to themselves. I think I second you. Yes. We need to have a holiday.
And naturally, you ladies, whenever you are challenged with something, you speak. You are very open-minded.
Yes.
But for us, even if we are just the two of us, I'll just be like this. Even when I know that I think maybe just by talking to someone, it may help me to reduce that tenseness or, whatever, frustration I may have. So this is what we're encouraging actually. And whenever we have an opportunity like on forums like this, we always talk about people opening up. I was talking to a certain parent who brought a son who had some problems with drugs. So in most cases, you'd find that parents are just dying inside, they don't want to talk about this, mostly because of society. When I speak about this, they'll say maybe I'm a failure, I'm weak as a parent. How did I allow my child to find themselves into using these substances? But we just encourage parents to say, sometimes we are not there when things are happening with these young guys. They have their pressures, they have the peers that they, interact with, and there are all these problems. So I think it is normal for a parent to feel that way, but what is bad is for the parent just to leave it like that. They need to open up, share with a close friend, share with a close relative, share with professionals. At least there will always be a solution for something. And besides mental health, the difficult with mental health is you can't see, like what Mukuka said, you can't see. It's only the effects that you see. For example, when I am affected by a problem, when I go home, my wife will know to say this is not my usual behavior, So if I bring it out, it helps me to lessen that burden. At least we'll have someone to, to share the burden with. If I have a friend, again, it is the same. So this is why from your end, you would find that even suicidal cases, you would find that in terms of statistics, women, they attempt a lot of suicide, but most cases they don't succeed. But when a man, men, there are very few who attempt suicide, but when they attempt, in most cases they succeed. It's because there is, that kind of where a man is so strong and say, when they say, no, I just need to go, they'll find a way that they'll make sure that when they attempt, there's no time to come back.
Like from my observation, last year we had a higher number of men committing suicide. Just to make mention, what are some of the common mental health challenges that father would face?
Okay, so mostly it's depression and anxiety, but also abuse of substances. Reason being that depression, because in most cases, like I've mentioned, people don't talk about issues. And the way issues are, I'll give an example, like when you have a waste bin, where we throw litter. We were talking about cholera here. So when you have a waste bin, you'll be throwing litter into that waste bin. But after some time, it will get full, and when it gets full, it will overflow. So that is exactly how it is with even us men. You would find that when there's an issue, we don't speak about it. It goes into the unconscious, like I said. So once the problems are too much, they will start affecting us. That's what we call psychosomatics. The problem, which is psychological, becomes physical. And this is why you take Panadol, maybe after just some few minutes, again you start feeling it. It's not going. It's because you have not identified the actual problem. Now, because of that, because there's consistency in that, and maybe it has gone chronically, you discover that this person now, they will have anxiety, they will have depression, because they'll be thinking about these things, and as a result, because they're failing to cope with them, they'll tend to start isolating themselves. They'll stop eating, they'll stop talking to people, just like that. So those are very common. But for those that think that, also depending on the kind of friends they interact with, some they will just, even those that have not been drinking, they will ask them to say, as a result, and for sure in the short term, they'll feel okay, because when they go home, they'll just go and sleep. But in the long term, again, it becomes a problem. So those are some of the things that, resonates around, mental health in men.
Okay. Sorry, Blaine.
Yes, please.
I have a question on the part that you earlier mentioned to say men are not like us. They don't speak out what is affecting them. In a situation where a father is reacting to anything, as in like he's becoming too moody to anything, in terms of helping that person, how can you help? And whenever you talk of like him seeing someone who is specialized in that case, if he says, no, me, I'm okay, I'm fine. But checking the behavior of that parent or the father is not okay. How do we help such kind of fathers?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think also we need to be very careful on how we identify mental health issues, because sometimes we're trying to avoid a case where someone just is moody on a particular day and already someone is saying, a mental health issue. You know what I mean? So you have to, first of all, identify the patterns. Are they repeatedly, are you seeing them repeatedly, and what's been going on around before you can get to a point where you say, oh, this is a mental health issue. And I think also what's important is to kind of engage professionals, because sometimes even when you take something, like even for us as men, when you take something to your friends, it's difficult in terms of just having that interaction, because first of all, people jump into finding a solution for a problem.
Exactly.
So okay, just do ABCD. Me, I did it like that before listening. We are not, men generally are not good listeners, especially when we are talking to our peers. It's very difficult. So when you see someone that is exerting such behaviors, because that's a behavior, of course. So before you can conclude, first of all, try to find out what's going on, and also just because sometimes, and most times, men will go close up. They say, I'm fine, just maybe I had a rough day or whatever. But if you continue probing and also just showing a heart of kindness, and not just trying to fix their problem, eventually maybe they may open up and share what is really causing that reaction. Yeah.
And he has put it very well. I think the most important thing is listening. You know, even naturally, I think as human beings, we are not trained to listen. We are trained to speak. Even children, you would find that when they are born and they are growing up, every parent wants to make sure that the child speaks. When the child is 3-4 years and they can't speak, parents get worried. They'll continue trying to help this child to speak out. So what are we training the child? Society has only been training a human being to speak than to listen. Actually, studies have indicated that naturally it takes about 60 years for someone to be a good listener, minus training. So it's not an easy thing to listen. And like he has said, I think you need to have that heart of compassion for someone. Most cases, for sure, when someone has a problem, we want to, it's either we judge or we find a solution for them. And those are the major problems. And also, you want to take this issue to the third party. So those are the reasons in most cases that you see people don't even trust other people to go and bring out, issues. So take, for example, on Facebook, you would find that someone would show indications that they intend to commit suicide. Then they'll start posting very negative things, derogatory things, about that person without knowing exactly what someone is going through. So those are the major problems. So things might even be simple by just listening. Some people don't even want you to speak, to say something. They just want to bring out what they have, and you listen, and just that's all. So for people that are not professionals, maybe if you don't have an understanding in mental health related programs or challenges, the best is you listen and encourage someone to speak more. It is enough. It's a good starting point. And we don't encourage big changes when we are helping people. It's these small changes that we call building blocks for someone to become a better person. It helps them for their well-being.
I've just been taken aback. I'm looking at the times when we were growing up. I think this is the only time that people are now free to talk about mental health and stuff like that. And then now looking at our fathers, akale we used to fear our fathers. When you see that balenuka, you run and you leave the sitting room for him, all those things. I don't know how best are we helping, especially fathers who are now fathers to come out of child trauma. I think we were somehow traumatized from our parents, I would because we never had, like that serious relationship with our fathers. We would find comfort with our mothers, but not our dads.
Fathers. Yeah, and I think that's one of the areas that we are looking at as men of honor, because we are trying. Of course, we have different age groups, right? We have the older men and the adolescent boys, but for us, we're also trying to focus on adolescence because that's a period. It's a very crucial period in the life of a human being, and now focusing on the boy child. Because we're talking about the subject of fatherhood. So at adolescence, that's when human beings are forming their values, their beliefs, ideas, and things like that. So it's very crucial. And so the behavior of a father in a home, whether they are absent or they are not active in a home, really affects on how that boy child is going to become as a father. So we have that cycle that kind of continues. So if you have maybe, for example, an abusive father because there are a lot of mental health issues that they're not dealing with, that kind of trickles down to the behavior of the boy child even as they transition into adulthood. And so what we are trying to do is, first of all, create a space where boys can understand that it's okay to speak out when you're facing challenges. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay, to be weak, because society has taught us that we need to be strong as men. We need to be physically strong. We need to be providers. And so you see that most of the men, for example, they just know that their own responsibility ends at providing. So they go for work early in the morning, come back late in the night, and they repeat the cycle, and they don't have time for the boy child. So these boys now, like even from experience, what we are seeing is that these boys do not know who to talk to when they're going through those challenges. They don't know, they have no one to share some of those, what they may see as private issues. And we see that at that stage also there's a hormone called testosterone that is kind of building up in the boys, and that causes certain changes in the boy child's life. And it's new, it's something that they've never experienced before, and they don't know how to deal with it. When they go back home, there's a man they're calling Saddam. They've even given the fathers because you cry, you are considered as being weak, so they end up keeping that. At the end of the day, the only thing that they learn to be a man is through what they see from society, through the music, what they hear through the music, and what they watch through the music videos in the movies. And what we see in most of those movies and the music videos that we see, or what they talk about in terms of the lyrics, is all negative. It's about making money, the drugs, the women, and all that. So that kind of creates a certain persona, a man, based on those experiences, the things that they're seeing in the movies and the music. At the end of the day, we have toxic men, that are showing toxic masculinity traits, and these behaviors become physical, abusive, and all sorts of things. And they don't even know how to show love and care to the family, to the children. They don't have time to play with their children. And these are the kind of fathers that we have, in the home. So that's something that we are focusing on. But at the same time, we are looking at, we have also an age group of men, how can we help them, to do some of these things. So we bring about positive parenting skills, talking to them about how they can show love and support care to their children, so that the children can trust them and be able to open up and share some of those issues that they have.
Okay, I have a question. Sorry, it goes to Mr. Mutale. Yes. How are you outreaching to fathers that are facing these mental health conditions? Is there a strategy that you have introduced to outreach to them so that you at least help them out to be living in a normal way?
Yeah, so one of the program that we have, apart from just fathers, it starts from young people because, in most cases, sometimes it's difficult to, to help, big people to change.
Yeah.
So we have a program that we do in schools, an outreach program for schools, mental health, where we have even some what we call the interconnected risks that are found. He talked about testosterone. When a child is growing and that testosterone is being produced at that particular time, you find that the child, even the behavior, they have a lot of risk behaviors in them. So the moment that this young person becomes a father, the testosterone levels have reduced and you see the stability, and this is why you see the responsibilities that we start having when we have children. So we start from the young people, the children themselves. From primary, we do some programs, primary schools, we do programs in secondary schools, and sometimes when we're invited, even the universities. But we also work with the churches, but even the community at large. So mostly our programs, we emphasize so much on issues to do with substances, but also other mental health related programs, which we connect with other vices that come out because of the things that are happening. But also when we our page is not very, we are trying to rebrand some of the things that we have been doing. So we have a Twitter page as well as a Facebook page. We also had a website, but it's not working at the moment. So we are trying just to put things together so that I think we can have, a more robust approach. But I think from what we are doing, the information, we are able to, to provide this information and also try to put it forward to people to understand, even through the media. Sometimes we have opportunities with Christian Voice, ZNBC. We usually have these platforms, and whenever we have an opportunity, it's the time that we speak about it and encourage people, basically, even for those that have challenges, because I usually have a lot of clients that I also personally meet from my professional realm. So we also have those things, and we are able to discuss them with people. But I wouldn't say we have done much, because the country is big and we see problems. They continue. So we have what we call the technical working group in the Ministry of Health, where we are part of that, technical group. So we have other programs that we have been doing together. We are also engaged as an institution in research as well, just to find out what is basically happening, mostly in substances, because this is where we think, the need is supposed to be, because substances also affects, parenthood or fatherhood. So we want to make sure that we have decent fathers. We have fathers that are responsible for their wives as well as for their children and families at large. So that is basically what we are doing, but we think we need to do more. Yeah.
Well, I wish we can actually go on.
Yeah.
But it seems like time is jealous. This is, it's really a beautiful and educating topic to learn. It's an encouragement to everyone out there. We need to learn about such things. It's very important. Your last words concerning this topic, fatherhood and mental health, to the viewers out there, and just you share where they can find you.
Okay, so one of the things that I would like to say is, if there is a stigmatized profession, is the mental health profession. It is just now where people are very free to talk about it now. If you ask psychiatric doctors, they will tell you that they have also been, discriminated by their fellow doctors because of choosing, that as a niche in their professional realms. So my last message is, I think, just to encourage, the fathers that whatever they may be going through today, it's not too late. There's always an opportunity to get back to the drawing board so that people can be, helped. There's always help anywhere someone is. If you are in a village setup, there are churches in the villages. There are traditional leaders. There are elders that people can be consulted, who can be consulted about issues that are affecting them. So alcohol and using drugs, alcohol and using drugs is not an escape. It will actually create more mental health challenges and breaking, their families. So I think it is just an encouragement to families, especially the fathers and maybe the parents, that please, whenever they feel that they need someone to talk to, we are always around. We have people like men of honor who can also help for those children that are growing up and having a lot of struggles. So we are free. I think we'll be able to provide, our details. We are actually in there is Tokalea Road after the ring road when you use this same Mosotunya road. So after the robots, it's called Tokalea. So we are in Lambia. It's at the corner of Lambia and the Chukunda roads or Chukunda streets, and that's where Decisive Minds is. In case of the phone, maybe it's 0977 855797. 0977 855797. So we are ready to provide the help that may be needed. Thank you.
What are your last words?
Great. I think for me, I would just like to talk to my fellow fathers out there and just to encourage them and to tell them that fatherhood is a blessing. And it's important to seek help when you're struggling. Talk to people who have been through the journey. Talk to the people who have been through the struggles that you are struggling with, and they'll be able to provide you with support. So find time, make time to talk to your children, make time to play with the children, because that's also part of their growth. And be part of the network of people that bring about positivity around fatherhood. And so, like Mr. Mutale has mentioned, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and the two of us can't do everything by ourselves. And so we need a lot of support in terms of we need positive role models to come in as mentors. We need facilitators. We need financial resources for us to be able to carry out the work. So if there are people out there that would need to come on board and partner with us in those areas, I think that would be great, and we'll be able to make much more impact in our communities. So for us, as Men of Honor, we are located in PHI along Justomale Street, and we can be contacted through a contact number 0979 506 334. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for being on Ladies Cafe and for sharing this important information.
Thank you so
you.
much.
It's our
And
pleasure.
we hope we become better ladies.
No, we've learned a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of the show. This has been Ladies Cafe. I believe you've learned one or two things about this topic, fatherhood and mental health. From us, it's Journey with the Girls.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.